Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Raheem, and today, what I want to share with you is some simple but seriously impactful ways to dominate as a parent, as a teacher, or as a leader. Now, what I'm going to share with you is so powerful that I can guarantee that if you do this, or let's just say if you already do this, if this is already the kind of person that you are, you're probably having huge success. Now, here is the key to dominating as a teacher, as a parent, or as a leader. The key is empathy. Empathy is your ability to relate and connect with other people. In other words, you understand how they feel. Not that you feel bad for them, but you understand how they feel. You understand how what you are going to ask this person to do affects that person. Now, that's a critical and powerful thing because most people, when you think about it, when we are charged with the responsibility of doing something, be it teaching other people, the young or college students, be it being a parent of children or being the leader of other people, the major problem that every single one of those particular titles has is that we often ask people to do things without taking full consideration of what they actually have to do, what goes into it. And nothing puts a sour taste in the mouth of people who are being asked to do something more than the person who is asking the other person to do it, not showing the person who actually has to do the heavy lifting that they completely understand what they are up against. Now, I'm going to give you 3 ways for each of those particular titles to actually begin the process of dominating how you are parenting, dominating how you are teaching, and dominating how you are leading others is very critical. It's not easy, but it's very critical. The reason why I say it's not easy, because in each one of those categories, it is important for you to get results. And getting results is it can seem very simple, but the path to getting results always requires growth. And growth is the twin cousin to change, and people don't respond well to change. Nobody likes change because change means you have to do something different than what you are familiar with doing. And anytime you do something that's outside of the familiar, there's this twinge of it might not work. Or is it worth my time? Should I even be trying to do these things? And the answer to that question is always yes, but not on the forefront. Usually courageous people are the ones who have no problem with change. It's all of the rest of the people who rest on their laurels or who are very comfortable with their terrains where they like things being exactly the way they've always been. Those are the people who usually struggle, okay? But those are just facts, okay? But let's go. So if you're an educator, there are 3 questions that I'm going to give you that you absolutely need to be able to answer in order to dominate as a teacher, in order to absolutely develop the empathy needed to be effective in the classroom. The first question is, do you consider your students' challenges? Do you really consider those challenges? Do you think about what they have to do in order to completely absorb the content that you're trying to share with them? Do you think about how they're going to make this process happen? Like if their challenge may be that they don't particularly care for the subject matter, is not of interest to them. Do you take that challenge into consideration? Do you take into consideration how they were raised? If, because so many times in education, we associate student challenges with the way the child or the circumstances that the child is coming from or the student is coming from. They don't have a dad, or they don't have this, or they don't have certain things. And quite honestly, we forget about just the natural challenges of being a human being. It doesn't always have to do, students not performing does not always have to do with them lacking something. They can have everything and still not be successful in class because the educator, the teacher in the room has not taken into consideration the natural challenges of just being human, the things that deal with paying attention. Do you feel like paying attention? Do you want to pay attention? Have you successfully gained the right or earned the right to teach me? Because that's a permission thing. You can't assume that because you're doing something noble that the student automatically is going to buy in. It doesn't work that way. Not with humans. Human beings are funny. We have a peculiar way of resisting things that are actually good for us. If you don't believe that, look at all of the people who don't eat properly or who don't work out. We all know that eating healthy food is important. We all know that working out is important, but not everybody is doing it. So think about the challenges that your students have. Here's the next question. Do you consider how people learn? It sounds simple, but so many educators build instructional strategies, or they'll use instructional strategies, or they'll create their lesson plan without thinking about their students and how each individual student learns. Now, some educators are smart enough or wise enough to admit the fact that everybody learns differently, but their challenge will be, well, are you willing to put in the extra work to create a lesson that takes into consideration how that student learns? Or are you just going to broad teach, where you just teach over the heads? You're going to get some of the students, but you're not going to get all of them. Okay. If you want to dominate as a teacher, you really have to take into consideration how your students learn. Here's a third question that every educator needs to be able to answer. And that is, do you make interesting content, or do you make your content interesting? Both of those questions are similar. Okay. If you're educating other people, you have to make the information interesting. Otherwise, nobody really is going to care about it. And no matter how many times you say it, you'll fall into the category of, I taught it, I don't know why the kids didn't get it. Or I made it so simple, I don't know why they didn't learn it. They didn't learn it because it's not interesting. Not to them. It might be interesting to you. But like any good merchant or any good salesperson will tell you, it's not about you. It's about your students, and do they consider what you are trying to show them interesting? Students are just like everybody else. We all can admit, if we're honest, that we don't pay attention well if we don't find what someone is saying interesting. We just don't, So you have to take that into consideration when delivering content to other people. Are you presenting in such a way where the other person finds it interesting? Otherwise, they're not going to value what you're talking about, even if it's good for them. Remember, everybody knows that you should eat healthy. Everybody knows that you should work out, but not everybody is doing it. Why? Because it's not interesting to everybody. Some people haven't made the connection between how eating healthy and working out can actually be interesting. There can be huge value to it until, you reach the point where you get bad information from your doctor. And then next thing you know, now you're doing it because you're trying to save your life. Okay. But here's the next category: parenting. If you want to dominate as a parent, there are three questions you should absolutely be able to answer. And the first question is, do you create opportunities for your children to be themselves? It's a critical thing. So many parents raise their kids in ways that is convenient for them as the parent and not convenient for their child. In other words, they're not taking into consideration their who. We have kids, and we wish the best for them, and we want to put them in situations where they exceed us. But the problem is that we try to do it in a vicarious way. In other words, we see someone who is younger than us, who favors us, who kind of looks like us, and we think that they should be mini me's. They should be us. And we don't think about the fact that these are whole people with destinies and purposes that are personal to themselves. We never stop to think, is this the right path? Am I shaping my son or my daughter's life, or am I allowing my son or daughter to create a path for themselves? Remember, every one of us knows that all of us are different. But somehow when we become parents, we completely forget the fact that, you know what? Yes, your son or daughter may appreciate you. They may love you. They may even want to be like you, but they are not you. They are themselves. And they're going to fail if they try to be you. They're going to fail hard if they try to be you, because they can't be you. They can only be themselves. So as parents, we absolutely must create opportunities for our kids to be themselves. If we don't, we're setting them up for a life of disappointment, and they won't really understand why they can't succeed at being us, except for the fact that they are not us. As parents, we have to live our lives, and we have to create opportunities for our kids to live out their lives on their terms, not our terms. Now, as a parent, it's important to note that you don't have to finance how your kids live their lives. It's funny to me because some parents will do that. They throw money at the situation, but that's not how life naturally should work. Life should naturally work in a way where you raise your kids to learn how to create for themselves, so that they can finance their own activities. You see, that's important because nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. And if you finance your kids' way to figuring out what they want to do, they will keep coming back and defaulting to you. And that's not independence. That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to create opportunities for them to make a way completely on their own. That way, no matter what happens to you, they will be taken care of, and you'll know it because guess what? They've been doing it. Here's the next question. Do you help your children make their own way? Helping them, like I just mentioned, does not necessarily mean financing every little thing that they want. Your kids want fancy shoes, so you go and buy them. Your kids want new video games, so you go and buy it. Your kids want this, your kids want that, and you provide them all of these things because you don't want them to struggle like you struggled, or even worse, you use them as a status symbol. In other words, you provide them all of these fancy things just so that other people can say, wow, you know, he or she is really doing it. Look at their kids. They're so this, they're so that. Kids need the struggle of life the same way we need it. Our struggles made us stronger. And if you help your kids, meaning mentally, because that's the real game, is their mind state. When kids go through situations, say they want to purchase something or they want to create something, you don't want to dive in and help them by doing it for them. What you want to do is make sure that their mind state is correct. In other words, that they are completely confident in their ability to continue working towards their goals. When our children learn how to set and accomplish their own goals, we have just provided them something that will outlive us and something that they can take with themselves for the rest of their lives. They don't have to worry about, oh, if I can't get this done, I can always call mommy or call daddy or uncle or auntie. They don't have to worry about that because they themselves have created opportunities for themselves by setting and achieving their own goals. And that is a reward onto itself. So keep in mind, do you help your children by allowing them to make their own way? Here's the third question. Do you help your children learn about themselves? In other words, when we often see our children naturally go through life and experiment, they do different things. You know, kids, they try things, they make a mess of the house, or they try at sports, or they try at, establishing friendships and all of these things, right? Do we help them do that? And by help, I mean, do we support them? Do we ensure that they have the right mindset to go from one failure to the next? Okay. This is important in regards to the process of learning about themselves. For example, when children are in school as students, it's important that they learn so much about how they like to learn. Some kids are very good at taking notes. They take notes and they understand. Some kids have to participate in class. Do they know that participation is their key, is their way in? Do they know that building relationships with other students who are trying to learn is their way because they need the social activity of it? Do they know that, they need to do their own research? That's the way they learn. They learn by connecting, making their own connections with the material. Is that something that your kids know? Do they know what foods that give them energy? Do they know when is the best time for them to work out? Do they know if they're a morning person, or do they know if they are an evening person? Do they know how to work out that best suits themselves? All of these things are things that I encompass in under one title, which I will always refer to as knowledge of self. Do we teach our kids? Do we help our children learn knowledge of self? And knowledge of self does not always have to do with your history or our history. Like if your history is your ancestors built pyramids in Africa or all around the world, your ancestors helped to civilize planet Earth. Those things are important from a potential standpoint. But from a personal standpoint, your kids need to know what their own gifts are, what their capabilities are. They need to learn themselves, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what they can become good at, and what they should delegate to other people. In other words, if it's something that they're absolutely just not good at because they don't have an interest, that's where you teach them how to, what friends do you have that might be interested in that? And if that becomes their social network, they synergize with other people to help them accomplish their goals. Okay, so those are the three questions that every single parent should ask. Now, here are next for leaders. These are 3 questions that every single leader absolutely must be able to answer. Okay, the first one is, do you express or do you share your followers' challenges? If you're a leader and you're leading other people, be it 1 or 1,000, chances are you're going to ask them to do things to accomplish your organization's goals, or to accomplish the goal of your team if you're playing in a sport, or to accomplish some goal that you all have set out to achieve. If you're asking other people to do certain things, it is critical that you share the load with the people who are following you, the people who you are leading. If you don't, then you're going to create this air of the people who are following you thinking that you don't really understand what they are up against. And that's a hard, it makes it difficult for people to follow leaders in those situations, because even if you get people who will do what you say without question, deep down inside, at some point, they're going to be thinking, I don't think I should be doing this. I don't think that he or she who is leading really understands what it takes to make this work. And the minute that happens, guess what? There's a chance that the people who are following you may not put their all into it, or you may fall short, because people who are following others need to know that the people who they are following understand from a practical standpoint, meaning that they are willing to get down and do the work so that they can see the natural roadblocks and understand, oh, this is something that we have to make an adjustment for. Or, you know what, I asked you to do this by a certain due date and the due date is unrealistic. Okay. You actually need more time to get these things done. Or, you know what? Wow, I didn't realize that in order to accomplish this task, we first have to do this. Like there's something, a prerequisite that needs to take place in order to get it done. So that's the first question for leadership. Here's the second one. Do you work with your followers? Do you help them? Or are you just delegating? Working with the people who are following you is so important. There may be things that need to get done, and if you are not willing to go and do it with them, and it doesn't necessarily have to be anything that they're struggling with or anything that they don't know how to do, it's just that you always have to, it's so critical for leaders to understand that nobody who is following you is going to want it like you want it. It just does not happen. And when it does happen, you should cherish it and you should really celebrate those people. But oftentimes, anything that you're working on in your business, your organization, the things that you want for your business or organization, the people who are part of that organization, they don't want it the way that you want it. Not really. Everybody has their own interpretations of what needs to be done. And the leader's responsibility is to communicate what the vision is to the people in that organization. But the leader could make a critical mistake if he thinks that the people who is following him or her actually want it as bad as the leader wants it. It just does not happen. So how do you leverage that? You leverage that by working with them. When you work with your people, they get a chance to see your enthusiasm. They get a chance to see your inspiration. They get a chance to hear your thoughts. They get a chance to see how passionate you are about accomplishing a task or how well you do the task, the effort, the energy, the quality that you bring to it. And then it naturally influences them to do at least the same. So think about that. If you're a leader and you're asking other people to do things and you don't get in to show them or work with them or be part of, they're not going to commit to whatever you're asking them to do the way that you do it. It's just not going to happen. And if you tell yourself that it is happening, you're setting yourself up for a rude awakening. Because at some point, they're going to show you that they don't care about it the way that you care about it. And that's not a bad thing. That's not reasons to write them up or try to fire them, anything like that. It's just realizing that you are the one who sees the vision. It's in your head. They don't live in your head, so they can't feel all of the feelings that you feel or realize all of the things that you realize. They're going to interpret it from a completely different standpoint. And the only way for them to get even a glimpse of how you visualize and how you operate is for you to do it with them. You have to share the load with them. You have to get down and actually do whatever the work is. That might mean typing. That may mean lifting something. That may mean speaking publicly. That may mean sweeping the floors. It may mean anything, but you have to actually get in there and do it with them. Even if they give you the impression that they don't want you to be there, trust and know that in a later thought or an afterthought, they're going to appreciate the fact that you were with them, not just standing on the outside delegating like some, dictator. Here's the last question that every leader must be able to answer, right? And that question is, do you create opportunities for your followers, for the people that you're leading? Do you create opportunities for them? Now, the opportunities can be anything, right? But they absolutely should be opportunities for growth and progress. People aren't happy unless they are progressing and growing. That's just natural. That's basic. That's human. Everybody wants to know that they are getting better at something. As a leader, it is your responsibility to create an opportunity for the people you are leading to improve, to grow, and it needs to be tangible. If you don't, then you're creating corrosion for the people that you're leading. The reason I say that is because people are either progressing or regressing. They're either growing or not growing. They're doing one or the other. People, it doesn't, stagnation is, standing still is not really a reality. Even when you stand still, time is carrying the rest of the world forward. And as a human, we all can relate to that feeling of life is passing me by. Well, if you feel like life is passing you by, it's because you're trying to stand still. We don't, as humans, we don't operate that way. We have an internal desire to grow and progress with change and improve. And as a leader, it's your responsibility to create leadership opportunities for the people that you are leading. Now, does that mean that this person needs to be an executive? Now they are a partner? It doesn't mean that. It's the power of title. When you add the word lead to something, this is the lead teacher. This is the lead communicator. This is the lead idealist. This person comes up with all of our ideas. You create those opportunities for the people that you're following, and now you find yourself in a situation where people are picking up the mantle and carrying it further. And they are doing it in such a way with a sense of pride. Everybody wants to know that they're progressing. And as a leader, you have to create opportunities for your people to go further than they've ever been before. It's just so important that you do that. If you don't do it, know that is a chance that the people that you're leading will rest on their laurels. Weed will begin to grow underneath their feet. They won't do as much as they've always done, because resting on your laurels or resting on your past victories or failures or anything that you've done in the past is not relevant for the present moment. We can't live in the past. We can learn from the past, but we ought not live in the past. Everything needs to be growing and flourishing and reaching and stretching towards that next level, whatever that may be. So anyway, this is Coach Raheem. And once again, if you want to dominate, I mean dominate as an educator, as a parent, as a leader, it is so important for you to understand and express empathy. Be considerate of the people that you are teaching, the people that you are parenting, or the people that you are leading. If you agree or found interesting this podcast or this video, or however you're consuming my content, please like, share, subscribe. Please put it out there for other people. I put my content out for free because I really want to help other people. There are a lot of people out there in the world who are just looking and listening and waiting for someone to give them a message to help their lives, to help them. And when you share my content or you like it, it communicates to me, hey, you know what? Keep it moving, keep it coming. You know, it's nothing like when I have an off day and I don't put out content and someone says, hey, you know, I've been waiting for the next piece. Where's the next thing coming from? Those things really help. So until next time, dominate the game. Be considerate of everybody. Exercise your empathy. Peace.